Hall of Fame coaching matchup in Providence. Hey, how you doing? The only two head coaches to lead three different schools to the Final Four facing off, Rick Pitino and John Calipari. Pitino looking to lead St. John's to its first Sweet 16 since 1999. Calipari looking to lead Arkansas to the Sweet 16 in his first season with the Razorbacks. 9 minutes left in the first half. DJ Wagner off the glass. Arkansas up by 8, largest lead of the half. 2 minutes later, pass to Zuby Ejiofor, driving and dunking. 16 points in the first half, a career high for the opening 20. St. John's down 2, part of a 10-2 Red Storm run to tie the game. Under 5 minutes left in the half. Davon Smith muscles in. St. John's back in the lead. Red Storm had 14 straight misses earlier in the half, fighting back. Final 7 seconds. Boogie Fland, big boy bucket back from injury. Arkansas with a 3-point lead at the break. Calipari seeking to become the first ever head coach to defeat Rick Pitino 3 times in the NCAA tournament. But St. John's 9-2 this season when trailing at the half. Jonas Adu for the slam. Razorbacks up 10, first double-digit lead of the game. Arkansas opens the half on an 8-1 run. Mid-second, Wagner, steal. Billy Richmond III, he had a career-high 16. Arkansas by 12, led by as many as 13. 7 minutes left. Ejiofor, steal. Pass to R.J. Lewis. Finger roll. Blocked, but it's called goaltending. So count the bucket. Red Storm down 4. Big East Player of the Year struggling to find the bottom of the net. Now 3 of 17 after that make. Minute later, Carter Knox drives. Fouled by Kadari Richmond. That's 5 fouls for Richmond, and he's done. You be the judge. Pitino clearly, yeah, what are you looking at? Unhappy about that call. 4 minutes left. R.J. Lewis not on the court. Pass to Ruben Prey. Driving baseline, throws it down. Johnny's down 2. 2 minutes later, Wagner scoop to the hoop. Arkansas by 6. Rick Pitino keeping R.J. Lewis on the bench. Really? Just over a minute left. Simeon Wilcher, no. Johnny's get the board. Smith, beyond the arc. Need it. Foul is called. St. John's missing opportunity after opportunity, and that is it. Coach Cal beats Coach Pitino 75-66. St. John's 28% from the field, their worst field goal percentage of the season. 21 of 75. Consider their 4 losses this season were by a combined 7 points. They lost this one by 9. Arkansas started the season 0-5 in SEC play, now on to the Sweet 16.
Coach, congratulations. This game really felt like a heavyweight fight and an incredible environment. What was the difference down the stretch to hold off one of the best second-half teams in the country?
We knew the first 5 minutes were critical, and we said, make him call a timeout in the first 5 minutes, and we did. Second thing is, they're one of the best. We have big-time rebounding teams in our league. That would have been the best rebounding team in our league. They missed a lot of shots. I mean, they made more shots than probably beat us. But these kids, I'm so proud of them, how they play and fight and persevered. They threw us in the coffin. They just forgot the nails. We pushed it open and we come out.
How, though, John? How did they go from 0-5 in the SEC to the Sweet 16?
So, again, great young men who've been raised right by their families. Second thing was, when they got in a dark place, and we talked about it, each individual, they started figuring out, we got to be one heartbeat. This got to be about team, not me. And the more I worry about team and the less about me, I play better. So, but it took us time. I mean, it really did. Thanks.
Back in the Sweet 16. Enjoy it.
Thanks.
Arkansas spent most of the season on the bubble, and they just busted a whole lot of brackets, knocking out St. John's, the 2 seed in the West. John Calipari joins Lon Kruger as the only head coach to take 4 different programs to the Sweet 16, and he's the first head coach to beat Rick Pitino 3 times in the NCAA tournament.
Rick, what happened for you guys defensively at the start of the second half? They hit 8 of their first 12 shots, and they were, all pretty much in the paint or at the rim.
Well, I think we got a little tentative because of foul trouble. That's what happens. The fact that we withstood all that foul trouble and still were in the game, it was a positive sign. But offensively, we just did not share the basketball enough, and that was our demise.
What do we got? Right here. Go ahead, Roger.
Roger Rubin from Newsday. Rick, you had RJ on the bench, for a pretty long stretch at the end. Was that just because he just wasn't making them, or was there something more to it?
Played 30 minutes. It's a long time.
So he was tired?
No, played 30 minutes, and I went with other people. You already know the answers, Roger. You're asking leading questions. You already know it. So don't ask leading questions. You already know why he didn't play. Okay.
Right here in the middle.
Rick, Ben Dixon from Newsday. You kind of alluded to it before the game, but now that you saw Arkansas up close and personal, how did their sort of athleticism and physicality match up with the teams you guys played previously?
We haven't faced that type of length and athleticism this year, but that's what the SEC is all about. But that's not the reason we lost the game. We lost the game because we did not move the basketball enough, and that led to us shooting a very low percentage. We're a team that we have to get a high number of assists to win, and we didn't tonight.
Go ahead, Bill. To the right, Coach.
Rick, Vernon Quinn from The Athletic. Considering all the first half foul trouble, like how'd you to only be down 3 at halftime? Did you kind of feel like you got away with
We actually should have had the lead if we make free throws. We should have had the lead. But we battled. We just didn't get the job done offensively. It was one of our poorest performances offensively. Give credit to their defense, but also we shot ourselves in the foot with a lack of passing.
Right here in the middle.
Kevin Connolly, Storm the Paint. Rick, when you're starting to make shots in the second half and you're on the run to get within 2, are you kind of thinking like, here we go again, this is what we've done all season, and you had them almost where you wanted them?
I was just thinking of possession by possession. We had a shot, but we missed some free throws again and didn't make some defensive plays. But again, it goes back to we just didn't do the little things to win that game. And you got to give them the credit. They were a better basketball team by far.
Front left here, Coach.
Zach Brazilian, New York Post. With RJ, Rick, he said he felt like he wasn't a good leader today. What did you think of in terms of that?
I'm just very appreciative for Aaron Scott. He had a bad game, but he gave me his heart and soul with a broken finger. I'm very appreciative of Kadari Richmond. He was a true pleasure to coach. He had a bad game tonight defensively, and it took him out of the game. But he was pure joy to coach. I'm very, very appreciative of Davon Smith, who's been hurt and gave me everything he had. So I'm very appreciative. I'm very thankful to the guys that gave me every single thing they had. I hate to see them go out this way. We thought we were championship driven in our minds, but I've been disappointed before with this. You hate to see us play like that. I don't mind going out with a loss. I just hate to see us play that way offensively. And we got to live with it. You put a lot of time and effort. The coaches did. And it's just a bitter pill to swallow with that type of performance. But we'll give the credit to Arkansas, and I'll be very, very thankful to those 3 guys for giving me everything they had. And we move on.
Was there one play with RJ that made you sit him the last 5 minutes?
You know he was 3 for 17. You know he was 0 for 3. So you're answering your own. I'm not going to knock one of my players.
Take time for 2 last quick ones here. Go ahead, Roger.
Rick, I know that obviously the loss is very fresh, but this was pretty sensational season for St. John's and its fans. Can you sort of speak to the big picture of like what you think this was and what you think it does for the program going forward?
Well, I hope it does a lot. I hope it's, I've had a lot of tough losses and had a lot of great victories in the NCAA. And it always ends with you hating this moment. It always ends that way. It never ends. The only time I think we lost to Kentucky in the Final Four, and it didn't end bitter because we gave everything we had. Tonight we didn't play a great brand of offensive basketball, and that's disappointing. But overall, I'm very thankful for those 3 guys that gave me everything they had. They were the reason of the turnaround that St. John's had, winning a regular season and winning a tournament. So I'm just very, very thankful to them.
One last one here to the right, Coach.
Coach Nikki Lattarulo, SNY, just what has this season meant to you, and what do you want people to remember about this group?
You know, I think that the turnaround happened the first year. I think the guys, I think with Ruben and Vince and Lefty and Sim and some of the guys that were on the bench and witnessed what the run is all about, and then what you have to do to make the next jump. They witnessed it. It's going to only help them. They're getting better. I was sorry that Lefty had to be thrown into that tonight because that's a very difficult team for him to play against as a freshman. So I think that there was a lot of great moments this year. You wish that you could go out playing better offensively, but that's the breaks of the game. Give them credit, move on, and see what happens in the future.
Thanks for your time, Coach. Congrats on a great season.
Thank you.
One of the best seasons in St. John's program history, no doubt about it. But I will say the quiet part out loud. Why didn't R.J. Lewis play in the final minute? Because he was struggling. That's what was going on. He was struggling, couldn't buy a bucket. 3 of 17, 0 for 3 from beyond the arc. His worst field goal percentage of the season. The Big East player did not get a chance to have a last word there. Instead, it is Arkansas who has the last word, knocking St. John's out of the tournament. And you consider their first 4 losses this season were by a combined 7 points. They lose their 5th and final game of the season by 9.
Breaking news, Arkansas advances to the Sweet 16 after pulling off the upset against St. John's. Here's Coach Cal at the podium.
The team said that was a physical team. And I told him and reminded him that. I know St. John's is physical, but we're physical too. The second thing we talked about at halftime is first 5 minutes of this half, we got to get them to call a timeout. And these kids came out and executed, got some rebounds. Now, I don't know if any team that I've coached in a while had 28 offensive rebounds. I take that back. Tennessee did. Tennessee, they had 28 offensive rebounds, and we still won, which is crazy. You know, Rick did a great job with his team all year. If they made a few shots, they probably beat us. So we were fortunate to get out. But I'm proud of these guys, and all of them here had to overcome stuff, and they did. They did because they're good guys. They've been raised right, and they knew they finally, not at the beginning of the year, that we absolutely need each other or we're going down together. And they became one heartbeat. Now all of a sudden, whatever the team needs, they figured out that if I worry more about the team and less about myself, man, I play better. And so, you know, but it took time. And Carter, you were terrific today. Billy, Nelly, it's a good win.
Thank you very much, Coach. If we could, let's give our questions. First student athletes, Billy, Carter, and John L. Let's go right here behind you. Yep.
Right here. Hey, guys. Brennan Quinn from The Athletic. For each of you, you know, John just said everyone on the team had to overcome something. When he says that, what's the first thing that comes to each of your minds of what you had to overcome?
Can you repeat that one? I didn't understand that one.
Your coach just said everyone on the team had to overcome something. And when he says that, I wonder what each of you, the first thing that each of you thinks of.
Just the ups and downs in the season that we had. We had to overcome adversity and just fighting ourselves.
How about falling off the cart, almost breaking your right wrist, and being out like 3 weeks? Probably. I'll help them if they forget.
I don't even remember that.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Carter, Billy, anything on that?
You know, just coming, like what you said, you know, overcoming adversity. You know, we were down 0-5 in the SEC. You know, we had to fight to get here. It's a blessing that, you know, all my guys right here, that we fought real hard, worked real hard in practice and in the gym, and it got us here.
He thought it was going to be easy coming from high school.
I did.
And he did. And he played so bad early that he figured out, I better get in the gym more and I better start playing for us. And Billy wasn't playing early, but he had to overcome Like one time he blew up in the locker room because he didn't play, and I said, I'm happy that you're that way, that you want to play that bad. How good is he? I mean, how about the short shot he made in that corner that stemmed the tide? How about the free throws that he makes? How about the rebounding? Carter played. I know you're talking to them, but I had to say that.
We appreciate it, Coach. We'll go right front and left here, fellas. Billy, sir,
like they said, just facing adversity. You know, we had a long up and down season, so we just all came together, put our egos to the side, and just came one heartbeat, like Coach said, and just played fearless 40.
Thanks, fellas. Right here, front left.
Jackson Fuller, Southwest Times Record. Cal kind of segued to it there, Billy, but that play where you sprinted to the baseline, get the pass from Jonas, and make the mid-range jumper. Can you just walk us through what you saw there, and just how good does it feel to have, you've had an impact on a lot of wins this year, but to do it with your scoring, season-high 16 points for you tonight?
That play was just a sense of urgency, just seeing the open lane, but seeing the big coming to stop me, so I just pulled up and just took the shot I knew I was confident with.
Thank you. Keep it here, front left.
Yeah, John L., obviously you've played with a lot of high-level guys, and to see the big plays that Billy and Carter are making, just and Boogie as well as freshmen, just what does that kind of say about those guys?
How hard they working, and the stuff we do outside of the like practice and stuff just shows in game time.
Thank you. Go here, front right.
Billy, Adam Zagoria, NJ.com. What's going through your emotions there when everyone comes up and puts the towels on you and is celebrating around you during the interview? What are your emotions there? And just what's it like being a freshman playing so well on a stage like this? You obviously didn't play like a freshman.
The emotion was just all love. We all love each other. It's a brotherhood over here. He got my back, I got his back. And what was the other question?
Just being a freshman on this stage, what was that like?
I just take it as a regular game, like.
To him, that's how he is. Nothing phases him.
Thanks, Billy. Front right again.
Robbie Listella, Bracketeer.org. My question's for John L. What's this journey been like for you? Tough ending last year at FAU. You break your wrist, you battle through 0-5 in SEC play, and here you are, 18 yesterday, 15 today. What's that feeling like for you?
This journey it's an amazing journey. If somebody asked me to do it over again, I'd do it all over again. That's how fun it is. Went through my ups and downs and just stayed the course, and I came out.
We'll take one last one for student athletes. Go ahead, John.
John Fanta, Fox Sports. This is for John L. and Carter. Coach just said it's Billy's DNA. He's unfazed by anything. How would you extend on that, describe what this kid meant to this game and what it's like to be around him?
Just how hard he be fighting and the toughness plays. The things he do is not on the stat sheet, but it shows up to the coaches and everybody else.
Yeah, just fearless. He pick up guards 94 feet. He do everything on the floor. Great to have him on the team.
Billy, Carter, and Janelle, thank you for your time. Can head on back. Thank you. Questions for Coach Calipari? Let's go here front left if we can get a mic up here. Can you get a mic up here to front left?
Take theirs too. Take theirs. Give them to them.
There you go. Right here, Coach, front left. Yeah. Thanks.
Anthony Christensen, WholeHogSports.com. John, obviously, you've coached a lot of high-level freshmen throughout your career, and just kind of the same question I had for John L. Just what do those three guys kind of bring to your team to be able to step up in this level of the game?
Well, they're not afraid, and they want to prove themselves. I don't believe any of them were all freshmen in our league. Is that true? I think they have a little chip on their shoulder about that, but they're talented. Billy just has a different mindset. Like, if I turn it over, so what? He goes on to the next play. Carter and Boogie are still, they're freshmen. If they miss 2, they end up missing 5. You know what I'm saying? But Billy, now, the other side of Billy doing that is he'll turn it over some. Like, why'd you try to do that? I thought I could do it. The lob we had late where DJ wouldn't throw it, Billy would throw it. Now, he may throw it over the backboard, but he would throw it. And, they're fun to coach. I mean, I told him this is as rewarding a year as I've had. based on the fact of how far we've come. And that these kids believed in each other. Told them many times, you're never going to disappoint me. Just go play. We'll figure stuff out. And, Z was good today. We need Z to play. I need him on the floor some. Jonas, 2 fouls. I just saw we went 2 for 19 from the 3 and 1. What in the world? I mean, and then I saw they were 2 for 22. Was it an ugly game? Or was it a game that was exciting? It was like both, an ugly, exciting game. I don't care. It could be an ugly, ugly game, and I'm happy. We're moving on.
Front here, Coach.
Jackson Fuller, Southwest Times Record. Coach, you mentioned the Tennessee game where they had all those rebounds. I mean, I think back to that and how you guys were out physical. Can you just speak on the growth from then to now with this team's embracement of the physicality?
They didn't I tried to explain to them how it would be, and they didn't listen. So we went into that game and got absolutely shellacked. One of their players, I believe, had more offensive rebounds than we had rebounds. It was so bad that, that's another one I think I burned the tape. People get mad. He burned the tape. Yeah, I'm not going to watch. If I don't believe it's my team that I'm going to watch, why would I watch it? The South Carolina game, I'm not watching that tape. That's not my team. But I was able to tell them, if you don't become more physical, if you don't do this together, you're going to take a lot of these. And we did. We took some early. But to be where we are, still playing and still fighting and having fun, and I'm enjoying it. Like I said, I'm not going to let anything faze me in this. Here we are. Let's have fun. Now, I'm still holding them accountable. But, I'm asking them for a lot of input. What do you guys see offensively? What do we need to be doing? Missed a lot of layups again today. But, again, they're the #1 defensive team in the country. So.
Go ahead and back right.
Hey, John. Bill Roden with ESPN Landscape. Just a question. We talk a lot about how this game builds character. Could you just elaborate on what you were saying about your kids overcoming stuff, just about the character of the team?
Well, if you really want to bust out, you have to take some knocks and then overcome them to know you can, because the whole career they're going to have in basketball is going to be that. Can you overcome the bad spells? Can you be so confident and fall back on your training? If you can't, there's no one picking you up. You got to pick yourself up. The second piece of that is in life. They could say, well, we were down and losing. I was with these guys. We had guys in a dark place where they would look like that. But now they know I can be in a dark place like that and overcome it. I hope they also understand that saying that you can go fast alone, but you want to go far, you go with others. And I think they now understand that we all got to do what we're supposed to do, and we got to do this together. We can't be selfish trying to get our own, and let's play off of one another. And they're doing it. I mean, now, as we move forward, we're going to have to shoot the ball better. We just are. If we think we're going to advance going 2 for 19, I'm sorry, you're not. So, we'll see, though. But, Bill, there.
That was Coach John Calipari at the podium as Arkansas now advances to the Sweet 16 after pulling off the upset win against 2-seed St. John's. Coach Calipari, now just the second head coach to lead 4 programs to the Sweet 16. That includes UMass, Memphis, Kentucky, and now Arkansas, second behind Lon Kruger. Just your quick reaction to what we heard from Coach.
It's time to start taking Coach Calipari seriously. He has more Sweet 16 appearances than Arkansas has in their entire program. This is a masterful coaching job by Coach Calipari, starting SEC play 0-5. Figured it out. They're playing great right now.
Let's get you inside our CBS Sports HQ studios for some post-game analysis. I'm Jordan Giorgio alongside Mike O'Donnell. We have a ton to get to in this post-game show, but let's go ahead and begin with your halftime prediction. You called it. You said Arkansas was going to go on and win this game based on what you saw in that first half of play. How were they able to finish the job?
Not cleanly. That was not a clean game on either side. Arkansas, the points in the paint, the ability to attack the rim, something that is very, it's almost, I need to say this in all caps, very difficult to do against a St. John's defense. The way they play, how physical they are, how good they are in one-on-one defensive matchups. Arkansas found ways to attack the paint, get to the rim, whether it was drive for lob, drive and layup. That was the story of the second half. I mean, not the story of the whole game, but the second half for me, Arkansas's ability to get into the paint and make plays was huge, huge to get that win.
Yeah, defensively, things were working so well for Arkansas. Let's talk about where things went wrong for St. John's. Was this more of a game of Arkansas winning or St. John's actually losing?
Would you be upset if I said a little bit of both?
No, absolutely. We accept all answers.
I thought Arkansas's game plan was really good on the offensive side of the floor, the way that they were attacking the paint, which we just went over. That was number one. Number two, St. John's did not shoot the ball well at all. Okay, so that's the obvious statement. 28% from the field. They were 2 for 22 from 3. They're not a good three-point shooting team on the season, but they missed a plethora of layups. They couldn't get layups. They couldn't get dunks. Nobody could essentially find any rhythm whatsoever offensively besides Ejiofor, who had a very good game, had a double-double, 23 points, 12 rebounds. One thing that was a big deal that I thought I was shocked. St. John's could not get out and run in transition. St. John's, one of the best in the country at taking deflections, taking steals, get out and running in transition and blowing games wide open. Only 5 fast break points for St. John's. That was a really masterful performance from Arkansas on handling the basketball, keeping their composure, and attacking the pressure with pressure.
Going back to particularly shooting from 3 here, St. John's, not a team that's known for shooting the 3. I mean, are you super surprised with this final stat line? I mean, you expect them to do better than maybe 8% as we saw in the first half alone. But how surprised are you actually, because they're not great from three-pointer?
Yeah, I'm not surprised that St. John's didn't shoot the ball well. I think I'm surprised that they couldn't get any good looks at all. I mean, can we we'll peel back the layers a little bit.
Right.
Coach Cal outcoached Bill Self. Coach Cal just outcoached Rick Pitino to get to the Sweet 16. I don't think anybody, if we said this was going to happen last year while he was at Kentucky, everybody would have laughed at me. Would have just laughed me right off set. Coach Cal has done a remarkable job in these last 2 games of outcoaching 2 of the best coaches in college basketball we've ever seen. The zone for Arkansas, when they played Kansas, that was a difference maker. That worked like a charm for Arkansas. The players didn't call that zone. Coach Cal called that zone. Offensively, how they were able to break St. John's pressure by using a number of different guard-on-guard screening action, getting into the paint, throwing lobs, getting to the rim. Players are making the plays, but Coach Cal is calling those plays. And so we have to give a lot of kudos to Coach Cal. He deserves this moment.
Yeah, I'm glad that you do bring it up, because obviously so much leading up to this game was made of this coaching matchup between Rick Pitino and John Calipari, who now has his first Sweet 16 appearance since 2019. I want to get to officiating here, because it was a topic of discussion in this one in particular. A few huge calls were called on 2 aggressive teams. Your thoughts on that front?
Yeah, I think that's kind of what we expected in this game a little bit. You know, those are hard games to ref.
Right.
Everybody's going to roll their eyes at that. I understand that. I am a certified 5th grade referee, so I can understand the pressures of that game, how to call that. There were 2 or 3 calls that were bad calls, very bad. There was 1 or 2 on St. John's, and there was 1 or 2 on Arkansas. Absolutely, especially the one where you go up to block the shot, and that was called an actual blocking foul. That was a bad call. That was certainly a missed call by the ref. But I thought ultimately this wasn't a game that was determined by the refs. If we look at St. John's and continue the conversation more, you know, they didn't make shots. That was number 1. Number 2, they weren't able to create any offense from their defense, which is their bread and butter. That's the backbone of their entire team. And R.J. Lewis was wasn't there.
Yeah, missing.
And not just wasn't there on the court. He didn't shoot the ball well. That happens.
Right.
Every great player, and he is a great player, Big East Player of the Year, All-American. The ball doesn't go in then sometimes. That's okay, and that happens. You can't expect to be perfect. But Coach Rick Pitino just elected not to play him, essentially, for one of the most important stretches of the second half. I don't know why.
Okay.
I don't think Coach Pitino would take a player out just because they're missing shots. To me, Coach Pitino doesn't play someone because it's effort-related or it's defense-related. And I'd have to go back and watch the film specifically and just hone in on R.J. Lewis and say, well, what defensive assignments did he miss? Were there some effort issues? But that, you know, he doesn't just make mistakes. Coach Pitino just didn't forget that all of a sudden he had the Big East Player of the Year sitting on the bench. That was done for a reason.
Yeah, will be interesting to learn what he says about that move in his post-game press conference, because it definitely is something that caused a ruckus among the fan base on social media. You know, we talked about this when we were watching the game. Arkansas, a team that's playing with house money at this point, but for St. John's, just how devastating is this loss, especially considering they may not have this roster again?
Yeah, certainly good enough. I think we thought before, you know, before the game started, when you're filling out your bracket and you're looking at the matchup, you say, ooh, St. John's, they have a real path to the Elite Eight. They have a, you know, could you imagine that Florida-St. John's game in the Elite Eight to get to the Final Four? That's what a lot of people were thinking.
A lot, yes.
And so that it is devastating. But then, you know, if, you know, cooler heads will prevail here, this was year 2 for Rick Pitino at St. John's. And St. John's became the thing, the ticket in New York at Madison Square Garden. And that place was buzzing. Rick Pitino was on the Jimmy Fallon show. I mean, it's St. John's basketball is a big deal now. He's going to recruit great freshmen. He's going to recruit in the transfer portal. And year 2, you've got St. John's as a number 2 seed and playing the best basketball we've seen in literally decades in the Big East with St. John's. So that's devastation, sure, but optimism at the same time. It's a bright future for St. John's with Rick Pitino at the helm.
We will definitely look forward to it. A lot of people, as you mentioned, did not expect that, and only 7.4% of brackets actually had Arkansas advancing to the Sweet 16. They will continue dancing and play the winner of either Drake or Texas Tech. Before we get to our film breakdown, I'll have a tough question incoming for you here. Who would you not want to see if you're Arkansas between those two teams? Because I know you said Drake could possibly be America's team.
So from a size standpoint, Drake loses that battle. Arkansas is actually top 20 in the country in average roster height. Texas Tech isn't as tall as Arkansas, but they have a lot more interior presence. I think you'd probably want to see Drake, but Arkansas doesn't want to play really slow either. They're not an up-tempo team. They're kind of right in the middle. Yeah, you don't want to see Texas Tech because of the size. I think that would be the biggest issue.
All right, we'll leave it there. We are going to go inside the film room with you next, as you're going to take us through some key plays here from Arkansas in particular. We're going to throw them up here on the screen, so walk us through some of the things that you saw that you wanted to point out to us.
Okay, so I want to watch this action here for Arkansas. This is a guard-on-guard screen coming up of where we got John L. Davis. Here it comes. He's looking to see if he can turn and get downhill. And if he doesn't have it, he's going to space out again. But he stops. He stops his cut short because what they noticed was St. John's stopped switching. This is very strange for the St. John's defense. A very intelligent play by John L. Davis to set a guard-on-guard swing. This should key an automatic switch for St. John's. They're out of position. But what happens is, the more John L. Davis cuts and actually sees what's going on, it gives him a greater opportunity for better spacing. And there's grenade action for Arkansas. On a few plays later, grenade action is actually a dribble handoff that comes from the low post, hard to guard. It got St. John's napping, sleeping. You don't see that very often. Grenade, opposite cut. The ball goes into the post. The dribble handoff from the post, it's hard to guard. Look at where St. John's is positioned. Everybody has their back to their man and to the basket. Pretty good action.
Just like magic.
Yeah.
I love it. Now, how can they really use this momentum now as they look to the Sweet 16?
Well, they certainly have momentum. They have belief. They have confidence. That matters. You go home and you have to rest and recover and watch film at the same time and get prepared. Where Arkansas is really good right now is their ability to attack the rim from a strength standpoint, from a height standpoint. They're attacking the rim as good as they have all season long. It's not about making shots from the outside. I actually think a huge key for Arkansas right now is the play of John L. Davis. He is about as steady as he has played all season long. He had an up and down season. They were expecting him to be a little bit more steady, but he's playing his best ball at the right time. He doesn't have to score 20. He just has to be that steady force for Arkansas, and it's working for the Razorbacks.
All right, we will leave it there for now. More post-game analysis coming your way here on CBS Sports HQ as Arkansas now advances to the Sweet 16. They will play the winner of either Drake or Texas Tech in the next round of the NCAA tournament. As you take a look, it was a chess match. We talked about it for a few days leading up until this game. Rick Pitino versus John Calipari all time. Calipari, the 4th head coach to win consecutive games against a national champion head coach in the round of 64 and round of 32, has won 3 straight against Rick Pitino all time.